Hey guys, we're going to be continuing the series of Switzerland videos related to Switzerland. We had a long list of recommendations from Nehru Divine. I hope I did it correctly. But yeah, we had a long list, so we're going to be getting into the second recommendation on this list right now. And the one that we're going to be checking out today is titled Why Switzerland is Well Run. Wait, what? Where is the damn video? Oh, I actually said it. Why Switzerland is so well run. So yeah, without further ado, man, let's get right into this video. I already checked out a video about the politics in Switzerland, and it's quite impressive, the things that I've seen in that video, because having a president who only lasts for 1 year might be the best thing ever, honestly. Not enough time to do a lot of bullshit or to become power addicted. I don't know. It's just, I think it's really good. Either ways, shout out to Switzerland. You guys have a beautiful country, and I'm here checking out as much things as possible about your country. So feel free to subscribe and comment anything that you want me to check out about your country, whatever it is, comedy, music, whatever. If you find something related to Switzerland that you want me to check out, just let me know in the comment section down below. But preferably click that link in the pinned comment section, and you can recommend videos, and I'll check them out as soon as possible. Without further ado, guys, let's get into this video.
Switzerland does it better, whether it's chocolate, cheese, watches or tennis. But what's less well known is that Switzerland is near the top of world rankings in areas like healthcare, happiness and wealth per person. Indeed, residents of neighbouring countries usually cite Switzerland as their preferred emigration destination. So what makes the country so successful? Switzerland.
Wait, what? Wait, what? So you're telling me that Germany's this high on the list? Wait, what? If I had to leave, if you had to leave your country, where would you move if you could choose? Oh my gosh. Now that I've done a lot of research about, well, not a lot of research, but now that I've learned a lot more about Europe, this list becomes 10 times harder. I couldn't really, I'm quite contented in Finland, if I'm being absolutely honest, right? But there are other European countries that I do love. For example, Germany. Switzerland is absolutely beautiful, right? But Switzerland and Germany is practically in the same area, so you gain both if you gain one, in my humble opinion, right? So it's really tough, but this is quite interesting, because I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Switzerland is high on this list, but Germany is quite high. Why is Russia speaking about Germany? That's the biggest surprise for me. Sweden, okay, understandable. Sweden would want to be Norway. Norway would want to be Sweden, and Finland, yeah, okay, understandable. But this is crazy. I never knew this list existed. But look at that, only 2 American. That is crazy.
As their preferred emigration destination. So what makes the country so successful? And what can Ireland learn from Switzerland? At first glance, Switzerland and Ireland are very different. Switzerland is a landlocked alpine country that is outside the EU and has 4 official languages. The Irish state, on the other hand, shares an island with 6 UK-governed Irish counties. It is part of the EU, and while Irish is the native tongue, English is overwhelmingly dominant. Another difference is that Switzerland is a federation, which means that the cantons, or counties, are akin to equal siblings, who govern themselves through a federal agreement, whereas Ireland is a unitary state, which amounts to a parent-child relationship between the national and local governments.
Yeah.
Switzerland is also far wealthier than Ireland, boasting the world's highest average wealth per person, helped in part by the country's long standing as a banking safe haven. But there are also similarities. The number of Swiss
Banking safe haven. Could that be because of the intense neutrality that Switzerland has?
cantons is the same as southern Irish counties, 26. Both countries are militarily neutral, outside of NATO, and while Switzerland isn't an EU member, it is heavily integrated with the EU, and party to a host of treaties, such as the Schengen Free Travel Area, free trade agreements, and the EU's Dublin regulations on migrants, to name a few. We spent a lot of time on this channel talking about localism, and Switzerland is localism's star pupil. The 3 levels of government in the Swiss system are municipal, meaning the village, town or city, cantonal or county, and federal or national. Cooperation between the 3 levels is key, both vertically between the levels and horizontally between municipalities and cantons. Unlike Ireland, where practically all of the power resides nationally, The Swiss cantons operate almost like mini-states, with their own tax laws and regulations. The
No
cantons also
shit.
have a lot of leeway to
It's literally like America. What?
mini-states, with their own tax laws and regulations. The cantons also have a lot of leeway to deviate from federal rules, something known as liberté de manœuvre. Each canton is led by an executive council, typically made up of 5 to 7 members, also known as the Conseil d'État. The executive council is the alternative to a mayor, and it handles day-to-day decision-making of a canton. This is Martin Buehler, a member of the 5-person executive of Grisons, Switzerland's largest canton by area.
We have the same system not only on between federal and cantonal level, but also our municipalities are allowed to raise taxes, and also they have their autonomy to adapt their system to their reality.
The executive in each canton must cooperate with a larger cantonal parliament. The Geneva canton has a 7-member executive, along with a 100-member parliament, which is responsible for the oversight of the executive, enacting laws and budget approval. Joël Fils is a member of the Genevan Parliament.
Yeah, well, actually, the Geneva Parliament has one right that is different to other cantons in the sense that it can propose laws as well. So this is a prerogative that we have. In addition to Neuchâtel, if I'm not mistaken, those are the 2 cantons where parliamentarians can actually write and propose laws.
In Glarus, eligible voters gather in the town square of the cantonal capital once per year, and people vote for their executive council and key policies. This public assembly of 1,200 or so people plays the legislative role of the canton, with the actual parliament confined to administrative duties. Below the cantons we have the municipalities, which have either a parliament or a town meeting of their own, handling important functions like zoning, waste collection and aspects of social welfare. The key characteristic that underpins Swiss localism is that both responsibilities and tax-raising powers rest at the 3 levels of government. If councils just receive funding from the central government, rather than having to raise taxes locally, while major responsibilities are not devolved, this can lead to wasteful spending. Switzerland works well because there is managed competition between the cantons.
For example, I had the possibility to start yesterday a change of the tax law of the canton of Grisons, where we want to raise the attraction for families, means the possibility to reduce taxes when you have kids will be better established. We want to be on the first places in Switzerland. We corrected that. And we raised also the level for people with low income that do not have to pay taxes at all. So this is a change we made on cantonal level that affects canton and municipalities.
Yeah, I think I think it's so fair, if I'm being absolutely honest. I think it's so fair to allow people who, make like the lowest income. Like, obviously, if you're making like 30 racks a year, that's 30,000. Let me, speak English and not use American terms. Yeah, so if you make 30,000 a year, right, that is obviously still not bottom to me. So we're talking about something like 15,000 a year. If you're making 15,000 a year, you shouldn't have to pay tax. Let's just be real, right? Because the reality is taxes are paid in multiple different ways. It's not only paid through your job, right? It's also paid because of your, what's the person called again? The person who pays for whatever service your job is. So let's say a supermarket, right? Supermarket, the person, like the people buying groceries, pay taxes when buying groceries. So taxes are paid through that, right? And then when you're working, taxes are also taken from that and given to the government, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because the company that you're working for has to pay taxes, right? And then now when you get your money, which you don't have to pay income tax from, then you still have to technically pay tax when you purchase anything. So at the end of the day, you're still paying taxes. Obviously, if you're making less money, you're not going to be able to achieve as much. So I think it is fair to reduce the amount of taxes that, low income earners have to pay, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I explained it properly, but you guys should probably, be able to figure out what I was trying to say.
But not the federal tax law, of course. And we have this also, again, liberté de manœuvre to do it. But on the other hand, we have this federal tax harmonization law, that also limits this autonomy, and it has to be in line with that.
Switzerland's top rate of VAT, or sales tax, is 7.7%, which is very low by European standards and well below Ireland's 23%.
The VAT is 7.2 and y'all telling me that Switzerland is expensive? VAT in Finland by 25. Damn. Wait, what? How? Wait, I am confused. I'm confused. Value added tax, VAT, is 7.7%? How? That makes no sense. That absolutely makes no sense. That is crazy. But I mean, it's beautiful, but how does people complain about Switzerland being expensive if the VAT is low? Like, you guys gotta explain that for me.
0.7%, which is very low by European standards and well below Ireland's 23%. Income taxes differ a good deal between cantons. In French-speaking Geneva, for example, the top rate of income tax is 45%, whereas in German-speaking Zug, the rate is 22.7%, and there's nothing stopping somebody moving from one to the other.
There is a solidarity mechanism in place for the least financially attractive cantons, which are financed by the most financially attractive cantons. Geneva is actually the only French-speaking canton that actually pays and does not receive from other cantons. The canton of Zug, which actually has the lowest taxes in the whole of the country, is the canton that pays the most. It is a bill of 431 million francs. Zurich as well pays to the other cantons. There is this common pot where the least financial regions benefit from the riches. It's a system that works.
It damn right will work. Like it makes absolutely a lot of sense, because like if you're not making bread, but they in the same area, like we trying to have a united country where everybody is living comfortably, so donating money back to another state of your own country is like one of the most impressive things ever. It's like having a mom or a dad and you give money to them because you have a lot of money. Like that makes a lot of sense, right? Because at the end of the day, they're still kind of your responsibility, if that makes any sense. Because if they do find themselves in a tough situation, they're still gonna look to you either way. So just having the idea to work like that makes a lot of sense.
System that enables much more balance, and I'm not sure if every single country would be willing to do that.
They would.
But Switzerland is.
Switzerland is the world's most prominent example of something called the Thibault model, named after economist Charles Thibault. The model describes a jurisdiction where a range of polities, be they counties or states, offer public goods and services in return for taxes, and residents are free to move to the area that aligns with their needs and tastes. For example, if Galway developed low-cost housing, great schools and universities paid for by higher property taxes, it could become a popular destination with students and young families. Whereas if Kildare were to offer fewer public goods and services, but a more pro-business tax code, it might attract Irish and international entrepreneurs. A Thibault model is the opposite of what we have in Ireland, where practically all of the power is held nationally. Ireland's electoral system tends to produce coalition governments, and what emerges from cross-party talks after the election is a compromise that tries to balance competing interests. This isn't ideal. Even if the politicians could perfectly reflect the voters' relative preferences for schools, education, tax rates, and other areas, this is to assume that voters read manifestos and actually know what they want. In a Thibault model, preferences are revealed when people vote with their feet. If they can't vote their leaders out first. A highly localized system like Switzerland's does involve more churn, friction, and instability at the bottom, as local governments tussle, raise taxes and debt, and they have to cut costs from time to time. But instability at the bottom, and the budget discipline that this enforces, produces stability at the top. The Swiss government and its currency, the Swiss franc, is an island of stability at the heart of Europe. The key feature for a localized system is the raising of local taxes. Sure, a new aquadome sounds lovely, but if the people in a town or county had their property taxes increased by 5% for 5 years to pay for it, their enthusiasm for the water park might soon evaporate. In Ireland, funding flows from the national government, so towns and counties are incentivised to apply for the maximum grant funding that they can get away with, which leads to concentrated benefits and diffuse costs. One area gets the money, while all areas pay for it. This puts the finance minister of the day under pressure from backbenchers to loosen the purse strings for their constituents, especially if there's an election approaching. So why couldn't Swiss-style localism work in Ireland? One of the common reasons given is that Ireland's population is just too small for localism. We're a small island state that doesn't need to be divided further. But Finland and Denmark have similar populations to Ireland, yet 40% and 66% of their respective budgets are spent subnationally. In Ireland, that figure is 10.2%.
Seriously, I mean, that's how Finland does it too, I ain't even know. Boy, stop lying.
Ahead of only Greece among OECD countries. Switzerland does have a larger population than Ireland, but its 6 lowest populated cantons have lower populations than the lowest 6 Irish counties. Another critique is that Switzerland is a federation, Ireland is a unitary state. While that's true, in reality the line between federation and unitary state is a murky one. In unitary Denmark, subnational spending is even higher than Switzerland. Another concern is that adding more layers of government would lead to more waste, and certainly it wouldn't make sense to merely replace a central bureaucracy with local bureaucracies. The use of technology in government, so-called e-government or digital government, should accompany all localization efforts to make government more efficient. And it should be noted, centralization can just as easily lead to increased waste and less accountability. As we covered in a previous video, Ireland's vast network of centralized quangos show a familiar pattern of ever-increasing budgets. Others point to Switzerland's far wealthier population, but it doesn't follow that being less wealthy is an impediment to localism. In fact, it is reasonable to suggest that Switzerland's localized government, combined with other factors such as good industrial policy, allowed its residents to build wealth. Another question is, does Dublin's dominance in Ireland make localism untenable? Or would a better question be, has centralism led to Dublin's dominance?
Each canton has a certain added value. And that's what makes the balance of Switzerland very interesting, in the sense that Bern is the capital of the country. So it's the political capital of the interesting, in the sense that Bern is the capital of the country. So it's the political capital, the center. Zurich is the financial center of Switzerland. Geneva is the international center of Switzerland because, there's the United Nations, many international organizations. Lausanne has the best French-speaking university in the country with the EPFL. Fribourg has the best law university. In the Jura, they make a lot of watches. Nespresso is based in Vevey. It's very interesting because not every canton has a concentrated amount of prestige or power or industry. The industries are quite balanced out across the country.
So why are we so big on Swiss-style localism? In Switzerland, the voters are really in charge of the country. Through direct democracy and local assemblies, the citizens are given a big say on how the country is run, and through petitions, they can call for votes to overturn policies they don't like. Another advantage of this...
Somebody said that in the comment section yesterday. I was like, oh, really? They were like, oh, yeah, if I don't like something, we don't like it. We just try to get like about $10,000. 10,000 signatures, and we can just file that, and it has to get redone. And I was like, oh shit. I'm not sure if exactly that's what they said, but it was something along that line.
This model is that it drives efficiency in public office. In Ireland, we get poor value for money, and we have no basis for comparison between regions and counties because we keep centralising everything. When we put a children's hospital in the wrong place, what we don't know is if it'll be 1 or 2 billion over budget. What we do know is that nobody will be held accountable. In Switzerland, it is easier to identify wasteful cantons and municipalities as they will soon compare unfavourably with others. Another reason we like the Swiss model is that Ireland's political system rewards TDs for being really strong on their ground game, not for being strong on policy. What we have is national parliamentarians spending more of their time tending to local issues such as potholes and cycling lanes, which should be the work of councillors, leaving less time for actual lawmaking. There is also the question of how attractive Irish politics is becoming as a career choice. The hours worked, stress, abuse and time away from home are all off-putting, especially for TDs living far away from Dublin. Ireland's centralised system produces angry and fractious debates, with politicians vying for the best soundbites to make it on the evening news. Swiss-style localism moves power closer to the people, which arguably makes it easier to attract talented people who just want to do right by their area and not get bogged down in the quagmire of national party politics.
We have a very professionalized administration on federal level, also on cantonal level, but a lot of things on municipality level is also people that has another work they follow, and then they are doing it in their free time to contribute on this political process and to contribute on also taking responsibility for this. I'm convinced this gives a very good dialogue, and the political elites are not possible to somewhere disappear and forgetting what's going on in the population, what's going on the, I don't like so much, but on the ground.
The beauty of localism is its scope for experimentation. Is a directly elected mayor the best way to run a county or city? Maybe yes. But Switzerland's 5 to 7 member Council of State system is an alternative that might be favoured by some who worry about giving so much power to one person.
A loose cannon can't initiate a revolution, in the sense that everything is geared towards stability, and everything is geared towards consensual decision making. And so I think that really is what makes the identity of Swiss politics very unique.
Above the counties, we have Ireland's 3 regions, which are barely used outside of EU elections and to some extent in planning. Certain functions such as universities, hospitals, planning and energy generation could be well suited to rest at regional level, like they do in Denmark. What about localism's potential for Northern Ireland? In Belfast, MLAs and MPs often don't agree on much, but what they do have is a shared love of Belfast, Antrim and Ulster. If a border poll ever did take place, a southern state organised along county and provincial lines would likely be less threatening than the current hyper-centralised one. As for the EU, the principle of subsidiarity holds that powers should rest at the most local level possible, and this is something we are increasingly drifting away from. This is Fine Gael MEP Sean Kelly.
Many people don't realise that 70% of legislation comes from Europe, and that in the Dáil they're often only transposing what's decided.
Fianna Fáil MEP Barry Andrews puts the figure higher.
80% of our laws originate in Brussels. Just let that sink in for a moment.
To say that Ireland should have more powers held locally is no more Eurosceptic than Dáil skeptic. Ireland's 2 largest parties have just sent a jockey, a Rose of Tralee and a Eurovision host to where they tell us between 70 to 80% of our laws originate.
Just let that sink in for...
To where they tell us 2 largest parties should have more powers held locally is no more Eurosceptic than Dáil skeptic. Ireland's 2 largest parties have just sent a jockey, a Rose of Tralee and a Eurovision host to where they tell us between 7...
Come on, man. No. Like, listen, I'm all about women, being in places where they say men should be. But I am absolutely sure there are other women in politics who are likely more fitting than those other 3 women. Like, what did they say?
More powers held locally is no more Eurosceptic than Dáil skeptic. Ireland's 2 largest parties have just sent a jockey.
A jockey? So she rides horses. And who?
A Rose of Tralee and a Eurovision host to where...
No, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. No. Like, this makes no sense. It's the exact same thing that a lot of people in America have been saying regarding, what's going on in the U.S. The people that are being chosen don't meet the criteria. Like, you don't even do politics. Why are you even in anything political? Right? It makes no sense. Like, I can understand if one of these women were representing Ireland in terms of what they are doing. So Eurovision and jockey and stuff like that, that doesn't make any sense in my humble opinion. That doesn't make any sense. But you guys can let me know if that makes any sense, to send someone to represent your country that isn't involved in politics. I don't know.
They tell us between 70 to 80% of our laws originate.
Just let that sink in for a moment.
All fine people, no doubt, but they were chosen for their profile, not their policy-making track record, which leaves us with a diminished and distant democracy. So, could a Swiss-style system really work in Ireland? The Swiss are a notoriously conscientious and disciplined people. The Irish, meanwhile, consider themselves more relaxed and an all-round great bunch of lads. Switzerland has geographical, linguistic and religious barriers that have sustained the cantonal system for centuries. Having half the income taxes in Laois versus Limerick is likely unrealistic in Ireland's small homogeneous island. But Switzerland serves as a useful example of localism done well. And taking Ireland's own circumstances from first principles, we can start taking cautious steps toward a restoration of real local democracy. Thanks for watching, and slán go fóill.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the Swiss are doing it well. Like, I think they're doing it well. Like, the fact that you change presidents every year is enough to tell you, man. And I'm surprised that they cantons, that's what they call them. I'm surprised that the taxes are different in different areas, and one place is more known for this, known for that. It's pretty cool. I can't lie about it. It's pretty cool, and I think Switzerland is doing quite a great job. I'm not sure how long Switzerland has been where they're at right now, but I can only imagine they're going higher and higher and higher. So this was a beautiful video. Enjoyed it. And Ireland got to get their shit together, man. Like, if you're gonna allow some wonderful women to represent you, allow them to at least know some politics. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to fall. You don't want to fall down. You know what I mean? It's like me. I've never had a child before, and I've never had a child. I've never had younger siblings. Nothing with a kid. And somebody is like, "Oh yeah, you can babysit." When there's people over there who has, had children, has been the older sibling, and so on and so forth. They're way more qualified than I am. Why are you choosing me again? That makes absolutely no sense, in my humble opinion. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm out of here. Peace.